Welcome to today's lecture. We start off looking at finance strategy, where we're going to consider the functions or the various functions within an organizational setup. So the outline for the presentation would look at finance strategy, research and development strategy, production strategy, human resource strategy, marketing mix strategies, information systems and information technology strategy, information technology security and controls, and then e-business. So these are technically and generally the functional areas within an organization. So you have finance, research and development, production department, HR, marketing, information technology, and then e-business. There could be more, but as far as this paper is concerned, these are the areas we're going to pay attention to. Okay, so as we may remember, the main objective of many commercial entities, or generally commercial entities, is to make profit for its shareholders or to increase shareholders' wealth, right? Now, even though the not-for-profit organizations do not have profit at the heart of what they do, there is also some level of profit that they require in order to sustain their operations, right? So even though profit is not their main objective, they also definitely have some finance objectives. Now, the finance function provides a strategic support function to the entity's competitive strategy. Hence, in selecting and implementing product market strategy, finance objectives should be strongly considered. So whilst you are thinking about your marketing strategy, it is important you also consider the finance strategy. So finance strategy is an area, or the finance function is an area that supports most of these functional departments within an organization. Sorry. Now let's reflect on financial performance. That's something, an area I'm sure we are well versed in our previous papers or in our previous studies. Now, the finance function provides a system for setting and measuring performance targets. So KPIs are set for the critical success factors in the organization, and then the achievement of these objectives are matched with the targets that have been set in order to be able to tell whether the objectives were well met or well achieved. It allows management to monitor and control actual performance against short-term and strategic financial targets. And that's a key function of the finance department. Now, in a BSc, that is let me take that again. In a balanced scorecard performance measurement, targets should always be set for all 4 aspects. Okay, welcome to today's lecture. We start off with functional strategy. So here we are going to look at the various functions within an organization. The general functions include finance, research and development, production, human resource, marketing, information system and information technology, and e-business. These are the main areas that we'll be considering in this paper. And these are generally the departments that cut across many organizations. So it's important we look at the strategy that is adapted for these functional departments. Now, in many organizations, the main motive or the main objective is around the objective of finance or the finance objective. And even for non-financial, not-for-profit institutions, they have some level of finance objective because they need to stay, they need to be sustainable. And so profit is important, okay, though it is not the main objective. Now, the finance function would provide the strategic support function to the entity's competitive strategy. And thus is a function that actually supports most of these functional departments. It supports marketing, supports information technology, business, operations, and so on and so forth. Okay, so finance is more or less like the core within a functional organization. It provides a system for setting and measuring performance targets where KPIs are set for the organization and then targets are set and actual performance is measured against targets. So you would determine or you'll be able to tell whether the objective have been met. Now, in a balanced scorecard approach of performance measurement, targets would be set for all four aspects. We'll look at balanced scorecard approach, where we have both financial and non-financial perspectives of measurement. Now, one of the critical rules of finance or the finance strategy or the finance function is to obtain funding for strategy implementation. And if we say strategy implementation, we are not only focused on finance strategy, we're talking about all the strategy that the organization has put in place. Now, some entities might have a fixed amount of finance that it is prepared to invest. And because of this, it means that there is limited funding available for investment option. And the finance function is able to provide information that would help management to decide on investment options. Now, it's important we understand the role of accounting function, which is part of the finance function or finance strategy in an organization. The accounting system or function provides a system for recording financial transactions and then prepare annual financial reports. It also provides management information systems and procedures for making decisions by senior management and other lower management. It assists research and development and marketing with new product screening or decision making about products. And so when the organization is faced with the option to select or to make an option, to make a choice between one or two products, the accounting function can provide the needed information that would help decision making in deciding which product to select, right? And it also supports investment appraisal strategy, where critical information is provided for investment appraisal, so that you know whether the various options available are giving you the appropriate net present value, or the NPV, or whichever measurement metric is used by that organization. It provides a reporting system for the marketing function, so it's able to provide information on customer or product profitability. So each product will have its profitability, whether or not it's making a profit. Each customer, especially major customer, you'll be able to tell whether you are making profit from that particular customer, and so on and so forth. And these are information that will be provided by the accounting function. It helps other colleagues or colleagues in other departments to identify and measure added value throughout the value chain of the organization. All right. So let's look at another functional department, or a functional strategy, which is research and development, R&D. Now, for an organization to survive and grow, research and development is key. Okay? And this is because every product has a life cycle. It has an introductory phase, it goes through several phases, and then it exits the market. As it exits the market, you expect that this product would probably be replaced by another product, one or two. And so this will depend on what? The research and development that has been done by the organization to bring out new products to replace these products that are leaving the market. Okay, now innovation is necessary for many reasons, okay, including product renewal, right? Sometimes a product can stay in there for so long, it needs to be renewed to come to par with customer needs, okay, current customer needs, to reflect current customer needs. Product adaptation, product must have to be able to adapt. So sometimes you have an organization that has entered a new market, right? Let's say the organization sits in Ghana, and then it has opened or ventured into a new market in Kenya. It is important that the product they are going or they are taking there should be able to adapt to the Kenyan culture and not necessarily the Ghanaian culture. Otherwise, this product might fail. Okay, you need innovation to develop new products, and you need innovation to develop new technology to help the organization to compete effectively. If a business entity fails to innovate, chances are that it will be uncompetitive. Okay, if a business believes it does not need to innovate because it can copy the innovations of competitors, it will always be in a position of catch-up. So they will always wait for their competitors to innovate, and then they will now copy. In that case, your competitors will take the lead all the time. You will sweep the market before you enter the market. So as an organization, you have to continually do research and development to introduce new products and services so you can keep up with the competition. Now, business entities establish research and development departments with research laboratories either at their head office or at a divisional level. It is expensive running an R&D unit or department, and so usually this will not be replicated in the various divisions of an organization. You would have one research and development department which probably may sit at the head office, okay, or at one of the departments where research and development would be the main thing, right? And it normally exists, R&D function normally exists in high technology industries where the pace of technological change is rapid. For example, in the information technology space, in the pharmaceutical space, and so on and so forth. Now, clearly, some industries or organizations do not need research and development function. However, entities within these industries must have a way of developing new products. You may not necessarily have to do research and development, but you should be able to what? Develop and introduce new products onto the market. In some industries, entities rely on the skills of their employees to provide innovation. For example, in management consultancy, tax consultancy, and architecture. Usually, these firms will rely heavily on their employees, their partners, to what? To provide the lead in innovating new products for their clients. A decision has to be made about how much should be spent on research and development for a particular or for a particular organization. That decision would have to be made. Okay, high spending is needed usually in industries that are the leading edge of scientific or technological development. I mentioned the typical example of the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, within the overall spending program for research and development, decisions must be made to allocate the spending between research and more specific project development. Usually, research takes long to happen. And so while you are investing in research and development, um, you shouldn't put all your investment in R&D. You should also be aiming at what other specific projects within the organization. R&D strategy must allow for failures. The fact that you are spending to do research does not necessarily mean you would get something out of it immediately. Sometimes, and in many times actually, research and development fails. And you have to go back at it and make sure things are what properly done. Sometimes you may not get what you intend getting out of a particular research, but you have to what, move on. Since a large part of R&D spending fail to produce a financial return, and since much R&D spending is discretionary, it might be tempting to reduce R&D spending, which might lead to strategic failure. So the fact that R&D usually is based on discretionary spending does not mean that you should reduce your research and development funding, especially for high technology based organization. Okay, if you did that, it might give competitive advantage to your competitors and you might fail in your whole strategy. Okay. Entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs. If you remember, we mentioned something about entrepreneurs in our previous lecture. Oftentimes, these are organizations that have just started, and it starts by just the owner of the organization. He is the entrepreneur who has got the idea to start a particular business, right? But as this business grows and assumes larger proportion and becomes a functional organization, then the role of this entrepreneur diminishes. Okay, but then the organization would have to continue to innovate in order to stay competitive. Okay, it means that something must still be going on in terms of what? Bringing new ideas, developing new products, and so on and so forth. So at that level, you don't necessarily require an entrepreneur. The one you require is what? An intrapreneur. An intrapreneur. The difference is that the intrapreneur is an insider. Okay, it's a management person whose function is to what? Is dedicated to innovate um, new products and development within the organization. Okay. So an entrepreneur is a person within a large business entity who takes direct responsibility for converting new product idea into a profitable finished product by taking risk and innovating. And because this has to do with risk taking, organizations may want to expect that these individuals will also commit part of their salaries into these projects so that they'll be committed to the success of the project, right? If it has to be the case that they are just committing the organization's resources entirely to innovation and new ideas, and they do not share in the risk, then they might take risk that may not actually inure to the benefits of the organization. Okay, but once they have a vested interest in the innovation, then of course they would be committed to ensuring that the project goes on well. Production strategy. So this is another critical functional department within an organization. Now, production involves planning over the long term how the company will be able to produce the output needed to meet its plans for growth and product or market development, right? Production includes capacity planning, resource planning, and cost planning. We'll look at them one after the other. Capacity planning. A company that is planning to grow must have sufficient capacity to meet the expected demand for its products. This means having sufficient production factories or plants, or production plants of sufficient size. Alternatively, a company may plan to outsource the production of components or even entire products to external producers. Now, in planning the required production capacity, right? A decision should be made about whether the company will set production levels to meet expected sales demand in each week or month or quarter, so that at times of high sales demand, production output is increased, and at times of low sales demand, production output is reduced. So this is one of the decisions that have to be made. Okay, decision will also have to be made whether there should be a steady level of production output so that inventory of finished goods builds up during times of low demand, and this inventory is used later to meet demand during times of high demand, right? Okay, so that is about capacity planning as an aspect of what? Production strategy. Let's look at resource planning, planning for the resources that will be needed for production. A manufacturing company must also plan to obtain the resources that it will need each year to meet the required capacity levels. If the company plans to grow, the required resources will increase each year. Now, resource planning in an organization involves making decisions about what production technology should be used. Okay, what production technology should be used. With development in robotics, which is ongoing currently all over the world, a company may need to plan for the introduction of new technology into its operations at some time in the future. It's important. They also have to plan how much capital equipment will be needed to provide the required capacity. They have to plan how much capital expenditure will be needed to acquire new production equipment. They have to consider how many production employees will be required and what skills they should have. Now, the production function will need to liaise with the human resource function, okay, in order to plan for recruitment and training of new employees. They have to also plan about what materials and components would be required and where they should be obtained. The production function will need to liaise with the procurement department in order to plan material supplies. Okay, let's look at production cost planning. Okay, the cost of production. How do you plan that? Okay, here you have to consider the quality of the product, the lead time in delivering your product, the flexibility in production. Okay, so all these will be racing against cost. These are important. Quality is important. Ensuring short lead time is important. And then if you have flexibility for production, it's also important. But these factors race against cost. If you want to ensure high quality, you have to contend with cost. If you want to improve your lead time, you have to contend with cost. And if you want to establish flexibility in production, it will come face to face with costs. Okay, so costs versus quality. Should you increase quality at the expense of cost or not? So cost can possibly be reduced by using cheaper materials. Okay, you can reduce cost if you buy cheaper materials to make your product, or you could use cheaper unskilled labor to do some of the work. Okay, but this would sacrifice quality, right? To obtain better quality output, it may be necessary to actually spend more. So you have to be able to balance the two, balance it, right? Cost versus lead time. Now, lead time is the time between receiving an order for an item and the time needed to make it and deliver it to your customers. If a company wants to minimize production lead times, it is important some spending have to be made. Okay? And then again, you have to decide whether you are ready to increase spending in order to improve lead time. Okay? You have to weigh the two and then balance it appropriately so that you don't have too high lead times, which would be at the cost of the organization, right? And if you also invest too much to reduce the lead time, that is an expense, and that may not be too welcome to the organization. So the two have to be balanced. Cost versus flexibility. Flexibility is the ability to switch easily from one production operation to another. So typically in a pharmaceutical industry, where several drugs are manufactured, let's say syrups, you have about 5 different syrups that are manufactured. Usually these are done in batches. Okay, so in one particular period, they may decide to manufacture drug A. Okay, so it could take them like a month or week, several weeks to do that. Once they are done, they have to switch to another product, let's say syrup B. Okay, and there has to be that flexibility so that they will be able to do this quickly, right? And that also comes at a cost. That also comes at a cost. So there has to be some balancing over there. We look at human resource strategy, another very important strategy for the organization. Remember, human resources are key resources in every organization. You are dealing with human beings who will, or around whom everything of the organization depends. The success of a business entity depends on the skills and experience of its human resource. Now, a critical success factor for an entity might be to have at its disposal sufficient human resources with the necessary skills, right? Without these key skills, it might be impossible to develop the business successfully. Now, human resources are mainly employees. When we say human resources, we are talking about employees. It could be full-time employees, part-time employees, home workers. These days, it's becoming common that people sit in their homes and work from there. However, human resources might also be individuals who provide consultancy services, who may not necessarily be workers within the organization, but they are what? Providing services to the organization as consultants or experts. Human resources might also be provided by subcontractors. Okay, might be provided by subcontractors or outsourced organizations and other organizations to which work is outsourced. Yeah. So it is important that in developing the human resource strategy, we don't consider only those within the organization, but also the external consultants and subcontractors. Now, what is the purpose or what is the objective of the human resource strategy? If you're putting in place a human resource strategy, what do you aim at getting? Okay. Now, a responsibility of the human resource management function is to one, assess the quantity and quality of human resources currently available in the organization, including the number of those categories of human resources and their skills levels. Okay. This function is also responsible for estimating the quantity and quality of human resources that will be needed in the future. Okay, so you have to plan for the future, including the numbers of those human resources and then the skill sets that they would come with. You also have to consider ways of filling the gap when there is, and ensuring that the entity has the human resource that it needs at all times. Now, the key objective of human resources is to ensure that the human resources are available as required. This is the main objective. Human resources are available as required. Now, it is not always the case that an organization would plan for increasing the human resource need. In some situations, an organization may actually plan to reduce the human resource need, especially through programs such as redundancy or retraining and relocation. And even with the introduction of new technology, okay, some jobs or some people would have to be let go, but this has to be planned, okay, so that it becomes much more effective. So how do you plan human resources? Human resource plan often consists of the forecast of the human resources that will be required at a given time in the future, and plans for ensuring that the required numbers and skills will be available in future. Now, a human resource plan will typically look forward about 3 to 5 years. Okay, so this is medium to long term. Beyond 5 years, oftentimes it is difficult to forecast requirements with any accuracy or reliability. Because the longer you go, the more riskier it is. It becomes much more difficult to plan for periods beyond 5 years. Now, in planning for the human resource, the process usually has some stages, mainly 4 stages. We have studying the corporate objectives of the entity, which is the first stage in the planning process. You have to study and understand the objectives of the organization, okay, and then each division and department within the organization. This should then be used to estimate the likely total size and organization structure of the entity, right? Total human resource numbers should be consistent with the corporate and divisional strategies. So the two must be consistent. The corporate and divisional strategy should be supported by the human resource base of the organization. So if that is not sufficient, then you plan to make it sufficient. So after considering the corporate objectives of the entity, you also have to look at the demand forecast. Okay, you have to forecast demand. The required numbers and skills of human resources should always be estimated. Now, estimates of requirements should allow for any expected changes in technology. Any expected changes in technology. And technology is likely to reduce the human resource need within an organization. Okay, technology or the introduction of technology would also mean that the human resources or the people in there should be able to use the technology to the advantage of the organization. Okay, all right. After this stage, you assess the current resources. What are the resources available currently in the organization? And you must also, in making this assessment, assess what might happen to these existing resources each year over the forecast period. Would you have some people leaving the organization? Would you have some coming in? Would you have some leaving as a result of finding new jobs or retiring? So this assessment has to be critically made. So the assessment should also allow for expected wastage rates or labor turnover rates. For some employees, such as trainee accountants, the estimates might allow for the expected numbers who will pass their professional examinations, for instance, ICA, and obtain a professional qualification during that period. Okay. So when you are making these plans, these have to be considered, very important. Even those who are not full-time employees and are likely to be full-time employees, those who are less qualified and have enrolled in programs are also likely to finish in a few years. And so this assessment must include these people. Final stage would be to prepare policies and plans. Okay, develop policies and plan to fill the gap between the required numbers and current forecast of future human resources. Now, in making these plans, what would come up is that decisions will be made on the recruitment of new staff, okay, training and development to improve the skills of existing staff, okay, performance appraisal would have to be done to monitor and control the development of skills. Some individuals would have to be promoted, redundancies where some employees will be surplus to requirements would be made, right? And ensure that these plans are realistic and then take into consideration certain environmental factors. Okay, environmental factors should include changes in population trends and the total size of the workforce in each country where the organization is present. Okay, you have to consider changes in government policies. These are external issues, such as changes in the retirement age of workers. For a long time, retirement age has been 60. People are proposing that this should go up. Okay, others even are saying it should come down to 58. All these have implications. Again, changes in educational system and the numbers of students going from school into further education. Typically in Ghana, over the past 8 years, 10 years, we've seen different policies within our education system, right? And so the government comes with their new policy or with their own policy on education. The next government comes, wipe it off, then also bring their own education system. And so in making these plans and policies, these educational system changes would have to be considered. Again, you have to consider the availability of individuals who are trained in a particular skill or vocation. The changing patterns of employment would have to be looked at, possibly with increasing numbers of part-time workers or home workers. You ought to also consider competition for human resources from competitors and other businesses. As you operate within a space, it is likely that some organizations or some rivals may want to even poach some of your staff and so on and so forth. And so this plan must what include these eventualities. Trends in subcontracting and outsourcing, and then trends in information technology and other technical or technological changes that might affect labor requirements, as mentioned previously, with the example of AI coming in strongly these days. Now we'll look at the marketing function strategy or the marketing mix strategy. Here we're going to look at mainly the 4 P's. Okay, we'll discuss the 4 P's, how to make a strategy about the 4 P's. Now, marketing can be described as a process of identifying customer needs and wants. Okay, ordinarily, when you say marketing, people think that marketing is just making your products available or letting people know that you have a particular product and so on and so forth. But it goes beyond that. It includes identifying customer needs. What do these customers need? And what do they want? And then after knowing this, you design products or services that will meet these needs. Okay. Then after that, you have to create customer awareness of these products. Okay, because it's not every customer who might know that this product is available. So you have to go the step forward to ensure that customers are aware of these products and services. You also have to create a desire by potential customers to want to have your services or your products. Okay, you have to ensure that the product or services are available to customers wherever it is suitable. Okay, and then the marketing function also includes persuading customers to buy the product or service. All right. So we'll look at these into a little bit detail when we are dealing with the 4 P's of marketing or the marketing mix. So the 4 P's of marketing, I'm sure we remember this, include product, price, place, and promotion. So 4 P. So we'll look at each of them. Product strategy is often concerned with designing new products. Okay, designing new products. Designing new variations of existing products. So you have an existing product and then you design variations of that particular product. So typically, an example can be ideal milk. Okay, you have ideal milk that is an existing product, and then you have variations, different types of the ideal milk. You have one with high fat content, you have one with low fat content. Okay, and so on and so forth. They are all ideal milk, but they are variation. So thus is a product strategy an organization might want to adopt. And you are doing this, or you do this because you probably want to capture a particular segment of the market, a different segment of the market, or to renew customer interest in a particular product. Okay, especially when demand is falling. All right, so that you can create new demand for the product. Now, the actual and perceived features of a product are very, very important in the marketing mix because this provides the value for customers. And there are many different aspects to product design. If you wanted to design a product, there are so many different aspects. Some will add value to a particular product, others will actually not add any value, right? So in designing your product, there are certain features the organization would have to consider, okay, which include the functions of the product, the comforts that the product provides, the convenience that the product provides, the quality of the materials of the product, okay? So then the useful life, how long can this product be used? The reliability of the product, the safety, the uniqueness, and then the packaging of the product. These are considerations that would have to be made in designing new products or variations of new products. And for the purposes of marketing, the organization must ensure that the product design should be related to what customers want and need. Okay, and the starting point for designing a new product or variations of an existing product, okay, will depend on market research. You have to do research. You don't conjure. You don't just sit there and say, oh, this is what I think my customers want or need. You have to research, so it will be empirical. The second P of the 4 Ps is the price strategy. Price strategy. Remember, customers expect to derive value for their money when they buy your product. So therefore, pricing is an important element of the marketing mix. Okay, they are going to pay for your product and expect certain what value to get from the use or the consumption of the product. Now, in most cases, if the price is too high, customers would not want to buy it. Although this is not in all cases, there are few exceptions. Okay. Now, pricing can also be used as a means of selling products or services. For example, commercial customers might be attracted by good credit terms and bulk purchase price discount. They may not be concerned too much about what the current price you are putting out is. But then if they can get credit terms, if they can pay over or after 3 months, okay, or good credit terms, and then if they can also enjoy some bulk discounts, they'll be happy to what? To pick up your product. Consumers might also be attracted by money back coupons of 2 for the price of 1 offers. Buy one, get one free. Remember this? Or short-term price discount in supermarkets and stores. All right. Now, for products such as cars that are often bought with a personal loan, for example, on a hire purchase, the terms of the finance deal might also be important for the customers to purchase this particular product. Okay, the finance terms would be very important. Okay. Now, when a company launches a new product on the market and there are not yet any rival product on sale, it is possible to choose either of these two pricing strategies. Either you use a market penetration pricing or a market skimming pricing for a new product. An organization would have to decide whether they will enter the market with a penetration price or a skimming price. Now, to set a market penetration price for the product means to set a fairly low price, which is aimed to build customer demand quickly so that sales volumes would rise and the company penetrates the market and is able to win large share of the potential market. That is what market penetration. You go in there with low prices, so immediately customers would take it up and then you would enjoy a large share of the market. So that is one decision you might make for your new product. The other decision is to enter through market skimming price. Okay, here you would set a fairly high priced product which is aimed at maximizing the gross profit per unit sold. Okay, and gradually the price will be reduced and the market demand will rise slowly as the price falls. The typical example that comes to mind is remember One Touch. One Touch in those days when there were no too many competitors in the telco space. Their SIM card was selling for then 1 million Ghana cedis. This was over this is over 30 years. Okay, 30 years ago. They were selling their SIM for about 1 million Ghana cedis. Or today, in today's terms, is 100 Ghana cedis. And look at the number of decades that has passed since. No telco would sell a SIM card for 100 cedis, even after all the inflations that have happened over the years. So today, nobody is selling SIM card for 100 cedis. Okay, so that was a market skimming approach. Okay. As we speak, SIM cards are sold for less than 5 cedis. Okay. The fourth strategy is the place strategy. Place strategy. Now, this is concerned with getting product to the places where customers want to buy them. The organization would have to ensure that the products are available where customers are. For many consumer products, customers expect to find the product whenever they visit a supermarket. Okay, if it is milk, if it is Milo, if it is these daily foods and basic foods that customers expect that when they enter any supermarket or a mini market, they should find these products available. For consumer goods manufacturers, place strategy will involve developing an adequate distribution network for easy access to retail outlets. Okay, some manufacturers might base their place strategy on delivery of the product to the customer's home or office. Sometimes some of these products are delivered directly to your home or office. And that is a place strategy, a strategy to ensure that you get a product where you live. The choice of distribution network is also very important in a place strategy. Which distribution network you choose is critical for the success of your product. A place strategy might be used to gain a foothold in a market through a distribution channel rivals do not use yet. Okay, could be your strategy to ensure that you place one foot in a market through a particular distribution network or channel that currently your rivals do not have access to. Then finally, we look at promotion strategy. Promotion strategy. Now, this is concerned with making the customer conscious of a product and wanting to buy it. Okay, let your product be on the minds of your customers and let them have the zeal to get this product from you. Now, how do you do this? You can do this through several means, including advertising, doing sales promotions, selling directly to customers. Okay, you can do this through sponsorship, right? Sponsorships, where, for example, I'll give the typical example of the English Premiership or even the Ghana Premiership. You have organizations that support the league. You have a league sponsor that sponsors the league. And so you have those days we used to have it called Barclays Premier League. Barclays Premier League, because it was sponsored by Barclays Bank. So you can do that through sponsorship. You can even do a sponsorship of the teams themselves. So you have Adidas. You even have Rwanda sponsoring Arsenal. It is a country that is sponsoring a team because they are trying to promote their country. Okay, we have many examples of these. And so you could also do this through public relations. Okay, This is concerned with attracting favorable media attention to an entity and its products. Okay. In carrying out your marketing strategy, one key thing you should include is the push and pull strategy. Push and pull strategy. Now, manufacturers of consumer products might use a combination of these strategies. Now, what is the push strategy? The push strategy is aimed at getting distributors to buy the products. Okay, the strategy you put in place to get distributors to buy the product for resale in their supermarkets or other outlets. Okay, that is a push strategy. The aim of push strategy is to push the product through the distribution channel or through the distributor to the end consumer. That is why it's called a push strategy. It may include the use of direct sales persons or executives, low prices, setting low prices for your products, and generous credit terms to your customers to persuade the distributor to buy them. Right? So this is a push strategy. You have to ensure the products are pushed through the distribution channels available. Then we have the pull strategy, which is another strategy that must be adapted in your marketing mix. Okay, this is aimed at getting the end consumer want to buy the product. Okay, they have the zeal, they have the quest to get your product. So they expect that their supermarkets or their other retail stores where they shop should have these products available anytime they go there. Okay, if consumers demand the product, distributors will be more willing to stock it because they will expect to sell it easily because of the demand. Advertising and sales promotions, remember, are an important element in a pull strategy. In a pull strategy. Okay, so that's about the marketing mix strategy. Now let's look at the information systems and or information technology strategy. Information systems and or information technology strategy. All right, so let's look at information systems. Information system. So this is basically every organization has an information system. Every organization has an information system. It could be a computerized information system or a manual information system. As long as there is information in an organization, the way the information is gathered, the way the information is stored, the way the information is analyzed, constitute what we call the information system, the organization. And like I said, all entities process and use information. Basic transactions must be recorded and processed in the first place. So the book system or bookkeeping system we have in our organizations, whether it's a manual, whether it's automated, are what examples of information systems. Management of the organization also use information system to make decisions, apart from the ones the officers or the lower level staff would use to gather and process the information. Management of the organization also have their need for information to make what decision. Now, the quality of decision making in an organization depends heavily on reliable and relevant information, because you don't want to make a decision based on hearsay or based on conjecture. You want to base your decision on what? On facts. And fact comes from what? The availability of information. Now, there are several types of information systems we would want to look at. We have the transaction processing systems. Okay, these are systems for processing routine transactions, those transactions that happen on a daily basis. Okay, there should be a system that is able to pick up these information and then process them on a daily basis. For example, our bookkeeping system. Okay, the accounting system that we use. These are what? Transaction processing systems. Okay, and then also sales order processing system. If a customer places an order, the system that takes this order through is also what? A transaction processing system. Then you have management information systems. Management information systems are for or are aimed at providing mainly routine information, emphasis on routine information to management for planning and controlling the operations of the organization. Okay. Typically, a management information system is used to provide control information for managers to be able to what? Control, look at the difference, for instance, between a set target and then an actual. Okay, so that you can put controls in place to ensure that gap or that variance is closed. Okay. So a budgeting and budgetary control system is a typical example of management information system. Then we have the decision support system. The decision support system is often used by managers to help them to make decisions which are usually more complex, okay, or are unstructured. Okay, so decision support systems look or share some commonality with management information system because these are both used by managers. But decision support system is used to what? Make a decision, okay, which by nature are unstructured or by nature are complex. And so in doing this, you need certain tools, such as a forecasting tool, a statistical analysis tool, or a linear programming model. Okay, so in this case, certain, let me say, high-level models are used in order to obtain the information that is needed to help management to make decisions. Again, we have the executive information systems, the executive information system. Now, this is an information system mainly for senior executives. It gives them access to key data at any time, okay, from sources both inside and outside the organization. Okay? An executive can use an executive information system to obtain summary information about a range of issues. Okay, and they can analyze, they can drill down to the very fine details if they want. Right. Now, the main purpose of executive information system is to improve senior management decision making, okay, by providing continual access to up-to-date information. Then finally, we have the expert systems. Expert system. An expert system is a system that is able to provide information, advice, and recommendations on matters related to a specific area of expertise. Okay, for example, there are expert systems for medical analysis, there are expert systems for law and taxation. Okay, these are usually used by highly trained professionals. All right. How can information system support the organization's strategy? That's our next concern. Now, information systems provide strategic support in an organization because of the quality of decision making that it provides. Okay. In addition, the quality of the service to customers also depend on the quality of what? Information system, or the quality of information that is what? Provided. An entity should always ensure that its information system is suitable and will assist the entity in achieving its long-term strategy. So you are not putting these information system there for fun, but because you are putting them to help you to achieve your long-term strategies. Okay. Now remember that an information system can give an entity a competitive advantage. And this is where you get the competitive advantage over your rivals because they will be making better informed and often faster decisions, especially when technology is used to provide this information. Okay, so that takes us to information technology. Information technology. Now, information technology consists of both computer technology and communications technology when we say that. Okay. Now, remember, information system, as we saw, could be manual or computerized. Okay. Now, if it is computerized, then it means you are using what information technology to handle your information as an organization. So we are now going to look at what information technology for the handling of information. Okay, it consists of both computer technology and communications technology. These are broadly different areas within the IT space. All right. Now, development in the information technology space has had great impact on several corporations. Okay, great impact. Development in IT have had an enormous impact on business processes. Okay, IT development have resulted in many new products. Okay, many new products. Example: computers, mobile phone technology, telephones, and all, etc., etc. Okay, and this has brought improvement in many existing products. Before this information technology came, we had what? Televisions. And now look at the kind of television we have these days. Okay, flat screens, you have curved screens, and so on and so forth. And other domestic appliances are based on what? Information technology, or have been improved because of what? The availability of information technology. Now, IT development have also radically altered methods of communication, how we communicate. Now we have mobile telephones and emails, okay, that we can use to what? To communicate. Okay, because of these, it is possible to communicate instantly with anyone virtually anywhere in the world. Just place a call and then the person picks it and you are communicating. Okay, or you send an email within seconds, the recipient has it anywhere in the world. Okay, in the past, it used not to be so. Those days when we had Ghana posts, you go to the post office, you write a letter, put it in an envelope, and then give it to them. You submit, and then they will take some days before the letter leaves the post office. And depending on the destination of the letter, it could take a week, it could take 2 weeks, or it could even take a month for the recipient to reply you. Okay, compare it to today. You want to call somebody anywhere in the world, if you have the person's contact, it's just a matter of what? Placing a call. Within seconds or within a minute, you have in touch or you keep in touch with that person. Now, the internet is one of the most important things that have helped to expand information technology. Okay, it's a major source of external and easy accessible information. Internal databases are also a major source of data that can be used by management for what? For information. Commercial transactions can be processed more quickly through information technology. E-commerce transactions are processed through the internet. Okay. about information and organization structure. Information and organization structure. Now, changes in information systems and information technology have an effect on organization structure. Changes in IS, that is information system, and information technology have an effect on the structure of an organization. Okay. First of all, databases and internet systems can make information accessible to any employee in an organization. And this will make it possible for decisions to be taken locally, okay, by making use of information that is held at head office or in a central database. Okay, anybody, anywhere within their local space will be able to make decision based on information that is held in the database of the organization. Computer networks, databases, and intranets also make it possible for senior management and management at head office to control an organization centrally. So they sit at their head office and then they are able to control the other units or the other divisions of the organization. They don't necessarily have to go there physically. Again, information can be made immediately available to local managers by senior managers. So senior managers can make information available to local managers anywhere they are to help them to what? Make decisions. Now, the traditional function of management, okay, especially middle management, which provides a link in the command chain between the senior management and local management, is broken or becomes redundant because of what? The availability of what? Information technology. Okay? If you can get information quickly to local managers, then of course there is no need for middle management. Okay. Again, changes in information systems and information technology systems have already affected many organizations, as we know. Okay, because of this, organizational structures these days have become flatter. Okay, they have become flatter. You don't have several lines of command. You just have about 2 or 3, and that's it. Okay, so many organizations have a flatter management hierarchy with fewer middle managers. And because of this, decisions are taken centrally, or decisions can be taken centrally by head office management, or even locally by junior management, because of what? The flatter nature of the organization structure. It might be unnecessary at this stage for employees to work together in an office, okay, when they can sit in their homes and then do the same work, and that can save them what? Cost of transportation. Okay, they can sit there, they can use telephones to communicate with their colleagues in the office or even in their homes. They can use email, they can use platforms, internet and so on and so forth to be able to reach colleagues in other parts of the organization. Okay, let's look at mobile technology. Mobile technology is an area that is also as important and is increasing at an enormous rate. Okay, so mobile technology refers to technology that is portable. You have access to it, it is possible, you can move it from one place to the other. Okay, this includes laptops, tablets, smartphones, and so on and so forth. Okay, and these devices have high power functionalities. Okay, now mobile technology, as we know, has its own good sides and bad sides. It has benefit and then it has risk. Mobile technology has led to a revolution in communication, sharing of information. You can easily share information within seconds. Members of a workforce are now even better able to communicate with each other. So easily, you can communicate with your colleague at work, even when you are not at work. Okay, many potential customers can use mobile technology to be able to search for products on the internet or on the website of an organization. They are able to use this to place orders and even make payments after the orders have been delivered. Okay. Now, organizations in turn are also able to market their products and services on the internet. And these can be accessed by what? Mobile technologies such as smartphones, tablets, and laptops. All right. And these days we have online businesses all over. Okay. The advent of mobile technology has also led to the development of new methods of doing business. Typical example is Amazon. Okay, you have eBay. Okay, you have Netflix. You have social media networks such as Facebook or Meta, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. These are beneficial to both the organizations and their customers. However, mobile technology also comes with its own risk. Okay, now because these devices are portable, you can easily drop them and they can damage, or they can even be stolen. Okay, and this can lead to the loss of confidential information. Okay, which if it falls into somebody else's hand could be damaging to the organization. If it fell in the hands of a competitor, the competitor could use this at or to their advantage. Okay, again, because these devices are connected to the internet, there's a risk of attack by hackers through the internet, so they can steal your data. People's credit cards are stolen when they make payments through the internet. Okay, hackers steal it and they're able to what? Siphon money from the account of your customers. So though mobile technology has a lot of benefits, it is not without risks. I'm sure you've heard about cloud computing. Cloud computing. Now, cloud computing is often a general term for the delivery of hosted services over the internet. Okay, so here, instead of your um, hosting your website or hosting the organization on a local computer or a local server, it is what? Hosted on the internet. Okay, it is hosted on the internet, specifically the cloud. That's why we call it what? Cloud computing. So you don't need to have infrastructure within the organization. You can get in touch with a vendor in the cloud and be able to what? Put up your information there, save, store your information, process, and then retrieve your information. Okay. Now, cloud computing has certain characteristics. Okay. Characteristics are that the hardware and software is managed by a cloud vendor. Somebody else is managing it, not you. So you don't need the space. You don't need to make available space. You don't need to make available other resources. Just get in touch with a cloud vendor and you are good to go. Okay. It also has another characteristic that these services are scalable. You can increase it anytime you want in terms of capacity. You can increase your capacity without necessarily buying any assets or getting any space. No. Okay. And here the user only pays for the services that they use. Okay. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. For instance, if you had a server that could take or that had a space of 1 terabyte, you've bought the disk or the storage device for 1 terabyte. But if you have used just a quarter of it, you have already paid for the cost of the whole device. But in cloud computing, you only pay for the space, that particular space you have used, and not the entire 1 terabyte. Okay, so there's some advantage there. So there are several benefits of cloud computing. Okay, because one, cloud computing allows access to information from anywhere around the world. Okay, anywhere you find yourself, you can have access to your own information. Okay, cloud computing avoid or minimizes upfront infrastructure costs. You don't have to buy any computers or servers. Okay, all you have to do is to subscribe. We are good to go. Okay. Cloud computing focus on its core business. Okay. So the vendor's core business is to what? Provide the service. And you as an organization, you also have your core business. So you're able to concentrate on your core business while the vendor is also concentrating on what? Providing the service to you. Okay. So it's more or less similar to an outsourcing, right? Again, there's a benefit where an organization can gain quick access to what? Applications. Any applications that you want, you can have it. Okay, you don't have to go and buy an application somewhere else. You get it through the cloud computing. Okay, all right. Like every other technology, cloud computing also has its possible risk. Okay, when you subscribe to a cloud computing vendor, it means that your organization has surrendered its data to a third party. And if anything happens to that third party, it could be disastrous to your organization. But the caveat is that these cloud computing vendors know too well about this. And so they put in place controls to ensure that these things do not happen. But then, in the case that this happens, if this so happens, you are going to be at a great loss. Now, again, the fact that cloud computing allows access to information from anywhere around the world means that hackers can also hack into it and have access to your information from anywhere they find themselves. Okay. Let's talk about big data. Big data. Now, big data is one of the buzzwords that is on these days. Okay, it's a term used to describe a huge volume of both structured and unstructured data. Okay, that is so large that it is difficult to process using the traditional database applications. Big data is dynamic and will remain relevant and applicable as improvements continue to be made with processing power, high processing power, data accessibility, and storage capacity. Now, currently as we speak, big data is measured in units of petabytes. Petabyte. A petabyte is equivalent to 1,000 terabytes. So imagine terabyte, see how big terabyte is. And then this is thousands of that. Or exabytes, which is thousands of a petabytes. Okay, that is 1 million terabytes. And imagine how big that is. Now, an example of a big data would be the billions or trillions of records relating to the millions of people all over the world, okay, who are accessing social media, Facebook or Meta, mobile data, and so on and so forth. These are huge volumes of data that would have to be handled with special applications. Now, as I said earlier, big data is made up of both structured and unstructured data. What is a structured data? Structured data is the traditional data format that we have. Okay, you have an Excel, for example, which you can organize your data on. That is a structured data. You have rows, you have columns, you have headings that are describing the rows and columns. Okay, then we have unstructured data. Okay, unstructured data takes many forms and is generated from many different sources, such as industrial sensors, search engines when you go and Google, okay, social media, and so on and so forth. Now, it is estimated that over 90% of data that is generated now by organizations is unstructured. Huge volumes of data, but 90% of them are unstructured. Okay. Now, in the understanding big data, there are three key things that we need to understand. We call them the three V's. The three V's. Velocity, variety, and volume. Velocity, variety, and volume. Now, velocity refers to the incredibly high speed that a data is created. The speed at which these data are created, stored, analyzed, and visualized is what we call what? Velocity. Okay? Traditional batch processing might only update master files once per day on an overnight batch run. But big data is updated in real time. Okay? It's updated almost every time. As soon as the information is transferred, it is what? Updated. Now, so typically when you post a photo or a video on social media, the big data space is what? Is updated immediately. And the post becomes immediately available around the world for all users who have subscribed to your space, okay, on the same media platform or social media platform. Okay. Now, let me give you an idea of the speed at which information is generated globally. Now, it is estimated that in every minute, about 200 million emails are sent. Just imagine, in 1 minute, 200 million emails are sent across the world. 100 hours of YouTube videos are uploaded. Okay? 20 million photos are viewed on our various social media platforms. And 2.5 million queries on Google are performed in every minute. Look at the sheer volume of this information. All right. So the second V is variety. Variety. Now, this refers to the wide range of data types and sources reflected within big data. Okay? Big data comprises largely unstructured data, which requires a different approach and technique to store raw data. Now, the wide variety of data facilitates new ways of thinking and analyzing. For example, social media such as Meta can provide insights such as sentiment analysis in a brand. Okay, thus analysis can be done to provide you with even the the age range of the people who access your adverts. Okay, it will be able to tell you this. And the third V is volume. And volume refers to the huge volumes of new data generated every second. Okay, all this new data needs processing. When you generate them, you have to process them, you have to store them, and you make them readily accessible for searching and analyzing. The data flog study estimated that about 90% of all data created was generated in the past 2 years. So you can imagine that data continues to double in volume every 2 years. Okay, so if last year we have 1 trillion, next 2 years or next year we're going to have what? 2 trillion. And it just doubles after every 2 years. Okay. Now, how do you add value? Or how does cloud computing add value? Or sorry, big data add value? Okay. What is the strategic importance of big data? Okay. What's the strategic importance of big data? Now, the main strategic importance of big data is what? Is that big data must add value. How does this happen? Okay. There are various ways that value might be created by what big data. Okay. One is that create transparency. Big data creates transparency. Improved accessibility for relevant stakeholders in a timely manner can create what value. If big data is providing data, huge sums of data where stakeholders can access, okay, stakeholders would be happy. They have information that they can use for their personal need or for their own need. Okay, for example, making relevant data readily accessible across separate departments within government. All right. So that is what transparency. Once you create that transparency, it is expected that this will end up in what? Creating value. Creating value. Again, big data enables experimentation to discover needs, expose variability, and improve performance. Okay, organizations are able to collect and analyze more accurate and detailed performance data on everything from personal sick days of employees to product inventories. All right. Again, big data can provide information through segmenting populations to customize actions. Big data enables highly specific segmentation to be developed to support tailored products and services that precisely meet those needs of what? Customers. Right. Again, big data can create value by replacing or supporting human decision making with automated algorithms. So algorithms are developed based on this data that is provided, okay, and this helps what? To support decision making or even replace human beings as decision makers. Okay? Because of the sheer volumes of this data, it is sometimes difficult for human beings to comprehend unless they are summarized at the highest level for us to be able to understand. Here, what they do is that you use sophisticated analytics, okay, to improve the decision making. Ordinary analytics may be unable to do this, and this minimizes risk and is able to unearth valuable insights into the information that you have. Okay, now such analytics could be useful to tax agencies, okay, so that it will help them to flag candidates for further examination, candidate organizations for further examination. Okay, we could also provide pricing information for retailers. All right, and finally, big data can provide value or create value by what? Innovating new business models, products, and services. Okay, it enables companies to enhance existing products, be able to create new products and services, and invent entirely new business models. Okay. Again, big data, as we know, for any technology, has its own setbacks or drawbacks. And one of the main challenges facing organizations is the shortage of talent necessary for organizations to be able to take advantage of big data. Not many organizations are even investing in big data, okay? And you don't have the expertise around to be able to handle big data, okay? And thus is a significant constraint on realizing the value of big data or the value that big data can provide. Now, when you are dealing with larger data sets, organizations face challenges to create, manipulate, and manage big data, especially in business analytics, where standard tools and procedures are not designed to search and analyze massive data sets. Now, as data becomes further digitized and portable across organizational and geographical boundaries, the issues of privacy, security, intellectual property, and liability will become even more relevant. Okay. Now, big data is also criticized by some people as simply being a new buzzword. Okay, it's a craze, it's a current craze that has become an obsession with media and business leaders. It remains too focused, according to them, on reacting to data sets to discover correlations rather than helping with identifying the drivers behind those correlations. Okay, so big data is unable to unearth the drivers, what drives these huge data. Okay, its attention is on how to what? React to the data that has been provided, how to analyze, how to put these data together and analyze them. But the source, the correlations behind these data is not unearthed by big data. So that is one of the criticisms of what big data. Okay, and that is a challenge. All right, so we'll end our lecture here and continue some other time. Thank you for that.